It was the fight that had a definite result. I mean, there were some other fights I had been in, but that was the one that had a definite result. This seems to go from fighting to celebrating pretty quick. You have to make peace with the fact that you could die to go do this. You can't go there thinking, oh, it's not going to happen to me, because it happens. It happens so much. Like one of the guys I was on that burn with was killed. And this is kind of a weird thing, but I actually like the fighting. I like the sound and the smell and the stress and the ground shaking and all that. I like that. There are people that are wired to fight, right? And I've always kind of liked fighting. I grew up fighting. I grew up fighting with boys, right? I think if you let it bother you, if it gets to you, then you're just going to make yourself sick. You're just going to drive yourself nuts. The stuff that people would assume would bother me, like all the bodies and the body parts and the smell of burning people, doesn't bother me at all. When somebody dies, so like someone from our unit gets killed, we bury them. And then we decorate the grave. It's very emotional. I've helped bury 3 comrades, 3 friends. In Tel Aviv in 2015, I had lost 30 pounds. I was really sick. I'd had a moment where I realized just how weak I had become. I've lost weight. This is a no-no here. Started over, can't see. Started over here, I'm way over here. I saw myself in the mirror for the first time in 3 months the other day. So I keep losing weight, I'm going to have to come back. There's just no way, this is just not healthy. I'd lost 30 pounds in 3 months. And I couldn't, when I went there, I was about 145 pounds. I had become so weak, I could barely hold my gear up. A week or 2 later, I was on my way home. I went home thinking that I was done. Physical exhaustion had manifested into mental exhaustion. But after a few weeks of eating normal food and resting and stuff like that, I realized I wasn't done. I felt so guilty. You know, I'd go to a restaurant, I'd be eating steak and drinking wine, and I was thinking about the girls in my units who were back here just eating crushed tomatoes and rice, drinking dirty water and stuff. I don't know. They always say, oh, why would you Westerners leave the comfort of your home, your safe countries to come here and help people you don't even know? I believe they deserve to be as free as I am in my country. As a Western volunteer, we have the luxury of always going home. But over there, they don't. They're stuck there. That's it. I mean, they have to live it. They don't get to go home. That is their home. So I support them completely, right? Because they're trying to build something that we've taken for granted. I get a lot of death threats from the enemy online. They like to send me messages saying what they're going to do to me and stuff like that. Some of the death threats I received from ISIS guys, saying things they can't wait to watch a video where I get my head cut off, stuff like that. A lot of rape, violence, you know, sexual violence. It's this no holds barred stuff. Many of us have a last bullet to kill ourselves instead of being captured by ISIS. If our capture is imminent and there's no hope for rescue, we'll kill ourselves. If ISIS gets a hold of us, especially as a Westerner, they would make a big propaganda video about it, but yeah, if they get a hold of us, then they'll just torture us, rape us, and stuff like that. So we'd rather just kill ourselves and have to deal with that. But I had a last bullet for the first couple months, and then I switched over to a last grenade. So the idea being that if I'm in that situation, I'll pull that and see if I can take as many of them out with me. When we liberate a village, most of the time they come out and they're just happy to see us. A lot of times they'll take off if the women have been forced to wear the black gowns, which they always have been, they'll take it off. Sometimes the guys will start smoking because they weren't allowed to smoke. Hugs and kisses, lots of crying, stuff like that. It's not just a fight against ISIS, it's a revolution. You know, they're trying to create a real democracy in the Middle East. They're trying to liberate women from thousands of years of a very oppressive patriarchy. So to me, those things are worth, you know, putting myself out there and becoming a target. It's pretty common to find pregnant mothers. And as soon as we rescue them, they're asking for abortions because they want to get rid of their ISIS babies. When ISIS went to Shingal, they took the girls and the women. I think it was 3,000 Yazidi sex slaves, women and little girls. And they kidnapped them and took them to mostly Raqqa and Mosul. They sent them to slave markets where their fighters would buy them, I guess. And, you know, their value was determined by how young they were, how pretty they were, if they had good teeth, just like you would cattle. They would be used, raped repeatedly, and then when their owner was tired of them, he would trade them or sell them to someone else. I know a lot of the girls they want to go back and just free those women, free those girls. That's a big motivation for Yabashay, the girls with the Yabashays, to go back to, because they're the Yazidi girls, the ones who escaped, and they formed their own militia. They want to go to Raqqa and get revenge. I get a lot of women write me telling me how much I inspire them. But not just, you know, to be soldiers or fighters or anything like that, but just, they tell me to say, well, because of you, I've learned to stand up for myself. Or I've been in a bad marriage and I'm going to leave it because you inspire me to be strong enough to do that. And like, to me, that's a huge honor. When I went there, I would tell people, I'm not going there to kill anyone, I'm going there to help people. But then, you know, a lot of friends get killed and you start to change, or I started to change, my thinking about it started to change. You know, we do what's called novachi, which is like guard duty. It's generally, like an hour during the day, an hour during the night. But I would sit up there 6, 7, 8 hours, you know, just waiting, just, you know, please, dear God, let me shoot someone in the face today. That's the way it gets. You don't care about them. They're not people anymore. You just want to kill them. I've been called crazy by a lot of people. For me to go back and do nothing and pretend that none of this is like, that there isn't a war here and people aren't being murdered and stuff like that, to me, that's crazy. ISIS wants to spread its ideology and the Kurds want to stop that. So really, the world owes the Kurds a lot. When you see in the news that ISIS has been beat in Syria, it's a big part is because of the YPJ. Long after ISIS is gone, the YPJ will still be there fighting for women's rights in the Middle East. I think that the future is definitely in the younger people, because you know, some of the older people, they're still kind of bent on traditions and stuff like that, but I see in the younger people the change that can come. Yeah, even the guys are really on board with the women's revolution part. They seem to really want change. They really want to be part of the 21st century. I always felt like there was something bigger I should be doing. So I just didn't know what it was. I didn't know what to do. And then this came along, and this was like perfect timing. And the last almost 3 years have been the best 3 years of my life. Even though, you know, a lot of shitty things have happened. You know, I lost a lot of friends, but still. In some weird way, it's still the best 3 years of my life.